Hello and welcome to today's Take 5. We're continuing to look at the Psalms together. We're looking today at Psalm 114 and 115. And I love it because in Psalm 114, it's just a short psalm, really, really sweet and short, but it's talking about creation. Creation itself acknowledges God. I love verse 7 particularly. Tremble, earth, at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the God of Jacob. Even creation not just acknowledges God, but is almost like trembling in the presence of God. And I've written this word, it extols God. Now, we're going to get on to what the meaning of extol means in Psalm 115. And there's a few things that I've picked up on in Psalm, not just 114, but Psalm 115, where it talks about how God is in heaven. He does what he pleases. And lots of people, I believe, put their God or they put false idol. They worship things, whether they like it or not. Everyone has this longing in their heart to put their worship into something. And verse 8 then goes on, really interestingly, in verse 8, Psalm 115, it says, those who make them, these false idols, they will be like them, and so will all who trust in them. And so everyone that puts their worship into these false idols, they become like them. And I was thinking that's so interesting because a false god or a false idol, when we worship those things we find and discover that they are hollow, they're empty, or they're broken and troubled. And if we put our worship into those things, we become hollow, we become empty, we become broken, we become troubled. And so it's a word of warning, if you like, in verse 8, that those who make them, that those who put their worship into empty spaces, they will become empty themselves. But this is what it says in verse 18: we extol God. And what that means is that we give him our highest praise. We give him our highest adoration. And I think it's a bit of a challenge because in our culture, particularly in the UK, we're kind of a bit safe. We're a bit stiff upper lip. We don't like to get too much, give too much away in terms of energy and enthusiasm. We can be quite reserved at certain things. And I actually think that that's kind of, there's these beautiful moments when we just kind of give God everything. We give him our highest attention, give him our highest praise. If creation itself extols God, then so too should we. If creation itself, trembles in his presence, then so too should we. And so I want to encourage you today just to give God your highest attention, give him your highest praise, go all in. I was just thinking as I'm speaking actually of the woman who poured all of her perfume, like what would have considered to be, reckless and so radical at that time, almost people looking down and saying, how are you wasting that? But that was what it means to extol God, is that she was pouring out, all that she had. I think it's so powerful. I want to be more like that. I want to, I feel like, I can become quite reserved easily. It's my natural instinct is the safe option. I don't want to, I want others to think of me a certain way. But actually, I think the call to extol God, if creation does it, if creation trembles in his presence, so too should I, so too should we today worship him in such a way. So I'd encourage you to do that, to extol God, give him your highest praise, give him your highest adoration. Start to look a bit quirky in front of others. So too, if creation itself trembles, if creation itself acknowledges God in such a way, so too should we. And so I'd encourage you, go for it, don't hold back, and watch that space, watch what happens, watch what God does. See you tomorrow. Bye.